Hi, everyone, and welcome to this month's SAMPS webinar. We're joined by Frank Barker. Frank is with AZoNetwork. He is going to present here some new research on the state of scientific purchasing. Going to wait just a couple seconds here before we get started. I see folks starting to flow in. Want to make sure that everybody has what they need and everyone is present. We have great registration numbers today. I'm already seeing some great turnout, so we're super excited about this. A few housekeeping notes. Number one, you are able through the Q&A function to ask any questions that you want. If you have any issues there, you should be able again to put that in Q&A. Just give a holler if you have any issues with slides, with seeing anything. Also, my email is available, I believe, in the invitation that you got. You can always shoot me a note there as well. So as we get started, a quick plug here for SAMPS. I think that everyone on this webinar probably knows who we are, but just in case you don't, we are the premier professional development, networking, and mentorship organization dedicated to sales and marketing professionals in science and in the applied research industry. We've been around since 2012. Very excited with the state of the association, very excited with the state of, frankly, the way things are going. And we would love to see you at some of our events that are coming up. We hold many at this point every year. In particular, pretty soon here, February 10th, we're going to have a networking event we call SAMPS on Deck in conjunction with SLAS. That's going to be up in Boston at the Omni Boston Hotel at the Seaport. Members get in free. There's a slight fee for non-members. But again, I assume just about everyone on this webinar is a member. So hopefully you'll join us there if you're at SLAS. And I'll remind you again at the end, but we do continue this webinar series every month. Next month, we're particularly excited. We are starting our book club. This is going to be Mark Schaefer's How AI Changes Your Customers. You will get in your email after this and in our newsletter this week details on signing up and getting the book ahead of time. We're really excited about this concept. We're going to have Mark on. We're going to have some presenters from our side to run through what is really an exciting topic in the space and something I think a lot of folks are pretty excited about. So housekeeping out of the way. Frank, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, let you share yours, and let you drive.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Adam. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you just fine. And
Brilliant.
again, in the audience, if anything doesn't sound right, if anything doesn't work right, just give a holler through the Q&A.
Brilliant. So, let me shrink me down a bit there. So hopefully I should be a little picture in picture in the corner there. Oh, yeah, that works, I think. Yeah, please let me know if you can't see my PowerPoint presentation. You should be able to. The State of Scientific Purchasing 2026. Okay, so well, thank you very much there, Adam. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Frank. I'm the head of marketing from AZoNetwork. Yeah, I'm really proud and pleased to bring you the State of Scientific Purchasing 2026. This is the 5th or 6th edition we've done now. So we've really built on a bank of content over the last 5-6 years. Really quickly, to sort of give you a bit of a flavour of what's ahead, 3 big forces are reshaping the scientific purchasing in 2026. So speed's really important. More purchases are decided in weeks, not quarters. 2, it's self-serve discovery, so SERPs, search engine results pages, and supplier sites carry more weight, while buyers contact vendors later on in the process. And number 3 would be comparison first behavior. So AI tools, AI is the big word right now, so hot right now. They're increasingly used to shortlist and compare options. And for marketers, the takeaway is simple: be searchable, be decision ready, and easy to compare. So that's a little bit about what we're going to jump into. Just a quick note on AZoNetwork. So that's our company. We're the leading scientific content marketing platform for engineering, healthcare, science researchers, with over 46 million annual unique users who frequent content and consume content across 140 different newsletters and ebook titles. Anything from antibodies and aerospace, automotive, up to XRF and zoonotic infectious diseases. We've got the science spectrum covered there. So there'll be some links at the end for you to check out AZoNetwork if you're not already familiar with us. Right. So I think without further ado, just want to say thank you for taking time to out of your busy schedules, and let's jump into the purchasing survey. So Adam, just give us a quick thumbs up that you're on page 2 there, all working. Yeah, I think you might be a couple of seconds behind. But so today is about how scientific buying decisions are evolving and what that means for your marketing strategy in 2026. We're going to cover purchase speed, buying team dynamics, budgets, uncertainty, political and economic, channel influence, and even in-person live events, as well as touching on AI in purchasing and which types of content actually move decisions. Now, a quick note on the methodology. As you can see there, we've got roles and ages, we've got participants by industry here. These insights come from people who recently submitted an RFQ on AZoNetwork. We process tens of thousands of sales leads every year. These are real buyers in market, not just hypothetical respondents. And the samples, as you can see from the graph, skews towards hands-on technical roles, application scientists, researchers and engineers, plus purchasing and leadership, the C-suite, which is useful because these are the people shaping requirements and shortlists. And as you're listening, I'd encourage you to keep thinking, what would this person need to see from us to feel confident about moving forward with a purchase? We try and bring it back to the marketer. So these are very much the purchases. What does that imply? What are the implications for marketing? Now, average spend varies dramatically by sector, which is why one size fits all messaging underperforms. For example, in this year's data set, medical and healthcare purchases skew much lower than aerospace, defense, and engineering. For marketers, we segment by budget reality, so lead with ROI and risk reduction where the budgets are pressured and budgets are becoming constrained. However, when budgets are increasing and the investment is rising, we look at how do you lead with the benefits of improving throughput, increasing performance, etc. I think there from this graph, medical and healthcare, I think we're looking at point of care diagnostics, so maybe smaller equipment that's probably a lot got an average spend, a lot less average spend. Whereas if you're buying aerospace or parts for planes and defense, then obviously it's going to cost a lot more. Looking at the overall product category, so scientific equipment remains the dominant purchase within this data set. So equipment, that would be analysis equipment, laboratory equipment, manufacturing and processing, materials manufacturing, as well as testing equipment. You can see that you get a real feel for the spread of the products that are being purchased here. Now, this mix matters because the buying questions are different. So lab buyers, laboratory would often prioritize compatibility and workflow, whereas manufacturing buyers might prioritize throughput, uptime, and serviceability. Now, the marketing implication for that would be about building category-specific landing pages and comparison assets that match the buyer's job that they have to do, so the job to be done. Looking at length of purchase, so this year's distribution leans towards shorter cycles. The biggest segment is under 1 month, followed by 2 to 3 months. So that means long multi-quarter evaluations. They still do exist, but they're a smaller slice of the pie, and they tend to correlate with the high cost, high value, high capital, high risk purchases. So anything you can do to reduce that risk and make that leap of faith a small step. But the headline shift here is around speed, with around 43% of purchases completed in under 1 month, up from roughly a third last year. And nearly 9 in 10 purchases complete within 6 months. So that means marketers have less time to educate and more pressure to provide clarity early on. So marketers need to front load the decision making content. So information, fit, proof points, lead times, pricing context, specification summaries. These should all be very relevant and easy to find above the fold, or certainly within the first click. Now, moving on to number of people involved within the purchase and the decision makers. Around 64% of purchases involve 1 to 3 people, and around 30% involve 4 to 6. So large committees are the exception, not the rule. Small teams typically means that one internal champion can make or break momentum. So how do you find that internal champion or that internal blocker if they're not your champion? But it also means that the champion can be overloaded. So how do you give that champion all the marketing collateral that they need? All the forwardable assets, the one-page summaries, the ROI, the TCO calculators, the versus comparisons. How do you get them to compare your products in the marketplace and highlight your benefits and the features accordingly, as well as implementation checklists as well. Now, still looking at the purchase, a large share of respondents are sole decision makers, while others are recommenders or key influencers. So I'd say for us marketers, right for the doer and for the approver at the same time. So you pair technical credibility, specs, validation methods with the executive clarity, the executive summaries, the outcome, the risk, the cost of change, or the cost of inertia, the cost of not changing. I'd say create a two-layer product page, summary and value proposition up at the top, whereas you've got the deep technical data and detail down below. One thing that we always champion is adding multimedia. So are there papers that your products have been mentioned in? Videos, webinars, podcasts, content, thought leadership articles where people are mentioning your content. If so, add them in. Make it as easy as possible for people to get to yes. Now looking at still looking at the purchase, but the biggest buyer group are application scientists and researchers. These are the people on the front line who are using the equipment and the people who will feel it most painfully if the equipment fails or if they haven't bought correctly. So engineering would be the next major group, followed by executives and project managers and purchasing managers. So what that means for marketers is the content needs to support the real life workflows. Like we said, application notes, protocols, performance data, they're not nice to have. They are the decision-making tools. Now, looking at budgets, interesting. I've seen some other stuff online recently, which does back this up, so it's good to see. Compared to last year, the balance shifts a bit towards budget staying the same and increasing somewhat, with fewer selecting decreasing somewhat. So for marketers, we'd scrutinize over every penny spent, from salaries and headcount to software to events and external campaigns. And we know that everybody's being asked to do more with less. That remains very much the mantra. So the best performing marketing will reduce the cognitive load for people, for the user, and accelerate confidence in their purchase. Now, this is where clear differentiation, customer proof, and decision support assets matter more than broad brand-based messaging. And some of the free text about what's driving the change. So I noted there was a lot of crossover with the SciLeads, or Laura Haldane did a similar sort of question in one of her surveys. And it's good to see that we're sort of getting this similar responses where you're looking at federal and government funding cuts. These are reasons for decreasing budgets. Broad economic and political instability, inflation, cost inflation and cost increasing measures. These are reasons why people are decreasing their budgets. People are buying less. So things like the NIH and the FDA having billions of funding wiped out at the stroke of a pen. It obviously has a negative impact when we're trying to sell scientific equipment and testing equipment in laboratories. And nothing makes clients sit on their hands or tighten the purse strings more than political and economic instability. You can see some more of the instances there that we've got. I think we managed to group them into a lovely little diagram here. So respondents cite familiar pressures. We've gone over this: inflation, purchasing costs, and political uncertainty. Tariffs, you don't know how much the tariffs are going to have a knock-on effect if you're trying to bring things in or out of the country, and funding changes as well. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are good news on the horizon as well. Growth drivers such as business development, new business development, expansion, as well as productivity gains, and lots of people using AI for productivity gains. I'd encourage anybody to well, I'd actually be interested to see how marketers are using AI for productivity gains. Is it for helping planning with campaigns? Is it for title ideation? Is it for a second pair of eyes editing? You can have it as a scientific editor, where it's looking at the content that you've created and making sure that it checks out with the sources that you've provided. So I'd encourage you to put any how do we use AI into the chat. One of the ways that we've actually used AI is through processing those tens of thousands of inquiries that we get. So you can imagine if you're trying to human process those, it takes a long time, and the lag time between somebody clicking send inquiry to actually the client getting back to them, there's quite a lag time of on average it was up to 12 hours, but we managed to reduce that down to 15 minutes with the use of AI littered throughout those processes. Things like putting in spam filters, legitimacy, how fraudulent the inquiry looks, so putting red flags in those instances, as well as sort of marking and scoring the characteristics and the buying behavior and intent of an inquiry. So yeah, please do use the chat for how we're using AI for productivity gains. That's just one way that we're doing it. Back to budgets. So marketing implication here is mixed signals. So we need to build messaging as marketers that acknowledges the constraints and offers a clear business case. So what would the cost of delay be? The cost of inertia, the cost of errors, and what on the flip side, what would the productivity be for going ahead with the purchase? Now looking at channel influence on purchase. So the top influences remain search engines and supplier websites, and search influence increases year on year in the data. Industry events, which we'll touch on in a minute, they rise meaningfully compared with last year. So inversely, we can see that sales reps are declining in influence, and I've seen I think in this again in the SciLeads survey and in Gartner as well, more and more people are preferring to just get the content and do all their research themselves, as opposed to having a salesperson in the process. So that's a trend that we're certainly seeing. So for marketers, how do we jump on that and how do we improve the shop window? So the digital shop window is your website. We need to invest in SEO, make sure we get found in the SERPs, make sure we have high performing product pages, third-party visibility, and then we use events to create demos and proof and capture names and nurture quickly thereafter. So now we've spent the resources on the show, we're going to look at what attracts people to booths. What pulls people to a booth is overwhelmingly the product demos and interactive experiences, followed by prior brand familiarity. So giveaways are far behind. Yeah, maybe a bit more gimmicky, but I suppose it does bring a lot of people to you. How do we build a demo-led event plan? Tease content pre-show, emails, social media, email signatures pre-show. How do we set appointments ahead of the show? Bring people to the booth for live demonstrations, and then crucially the post-show follow-up and the recap. How do we, it's very easy to forget that and move straight on to the next show or the next project. But I think doing simple things well consistently, that's where you see results. So if you've got a product that's complex as well, we'd record the demo and repurpose it as a short in-use video for your product page and nurture streams. Similarly, 2D animation is something that we found is really useful for explaining complex or distilling complex subjects down into very simple, understandable snippets. Now looking at AI use, the number of respondents saying they use AI jumped sharply year on year. ChatGPT leads the way with 58% as the most used tool, with Google's Gemini and other tools present as well. So that means that your buyers aren't just using one single interface. AI is becoming a comparison engine. You need content that models can actually parse and work with. You need structured specifications. You need clear claims with evidence, and ungated would be essential. We've actually really started to lift the gating on most things now, and we've made the conscious decision to to allow it to be crawled by the LLMs, purely so that we can show up in the AI search results. So GEO. One interesting way that we managed to take more data and get it online via the platform is when we go to shows, we've looked at PDF posters. Now, PDFs aren't the easiest for LLMs or for machine learning to read. So we've taken these posters and turned them into HTML. So you might have a scientific poster. We've taken the image, created a HTML article that's then very searchable, very findable within the SERPs results. And it's starting to show up in generative engine optimization as well, which is great to see. Yeah, so moving on. Now we've got Ben here, who's one of our AI superstars. You can see that finding information remains a major use case. But the big movement is comparison. So more buyers are using AI to compare products, shortlist vendors, and seek recommendations. For a bit of external context, when I was researching this, Bright Edge shows that AI search referrals are still under 1% of overall site traffic, but it's growing fast. So now's certainly the time to prepare and try and capture more of that overall site traffic. For marketers and search specialists, don't throw out the SEO playbook. Instead, we'd strengthen structured content, schema, clean specification tables, comparison pages, and authoritative, citable technical content. And of course, EAT principles, Google's EAT: experience, expertise, authority, and trust. These are SEO principles that have been around for years, and they're not going anywhere. It's how do they serve the user best? It's no different whether you're doing it for search engine optimization or generative engine optimization for the AIs. Now looking at content influence on the purchase. So 71% of respondents say that product information is the first content they interact with. That's by some way. Social media appears as a touch point for the first time in this series, but at a low single-digit level. Marketing implication would be to treat product pages as conversion assets and not just brochures. So make them searchable, skimmable, and deep enough for experts. So point on social here, I think at 4%, it's not the main closer here, but it is a sort of supporting channel for awareness, retargeting, and community presence, which we'll see in the next slide. And we've got, just over 21% there for social. This is for content influence on the purchase, not the first touch. The previous slide was first touch. This is looking at overall. Now, product information and application notes lead the way here, but video ranks as one of the most influential content types. And this is Joao, who's one of our AV content creators, AV specialist. Joao's got lots of experience producing podcasts for the likes of Amazon and Spotify. And he's one of our bright young things that's on our content creation team. So yeah, just looking at pairing technical depth here with demonstration. A short how it works or why it matters video can reduce perceived risk and speed up approval. So we want to use a content stack approach on key product pages. Again, if there's anything relevant to the product, whether that's summary, specification, application notes, thought leadership, validation, video demo, webinars, podcasts, FAQs, thought leadership, customer proof, please do add it in there and think about Amazon principles. You can keep scrolling down an Amazon product page, and if you want more information, there invariably is more information to find there. And then about the vendor. So we had fewer respondents that picked a vendor before starting the research. Buyers are entering the funnel more open-minded, which is an opportunity for people to gain market share. But buyers are reaching out less for information. They expect to self-serve answers online quickly. Responsiveness and customer service rises from 90 to 95% over the last year. That means the experience after the click matters as much as the click or before the click itself. So how do we reduce friction end to end, increase or improve the user experience? How do we make fast pages, provide clear next steps, provide easy access to support and rapid follow-up when someone does raise their hand? I suppose, question, how long, this might be a poll, Adam, at this stage. I'm just going to read it out. It might be a poll. If it's not a poll, just say how long. Oh, we do. We have it. How long before the customer receives a response to you? So this is when you are, well, when somebody is making an inquiry for your website, how long does it typically take for you to get them a response? Is it under 15 minutes, under 2 hours, 24 hours, or over 48 hours? So I'd be really interested to see how long that takes. Um, like I say, that's one of the processes that we've managed to really streamline and get it under 15 minutes now. And it was on average 12 hours previously. Okay, so that's bringing us towards the end of my slides, but I'm sure Adam will give me that'll kick us off for the Q&A. Right, hang on. And then just to finish up on the last slide, some key takeaways. So front load decision ready information, speed wins. That's really important. We're looking at responsiveness. We're talking about it here. Oh, poll results are in. So under 24 hours gets 56%. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. You might be able to. Under 15 minutes, only 3 people or 9% of people have got it under 15 minutes, but that's interesting to see. I think that's where we'd all aspire to be. But then, some purchases are more technical than others and probably do require a bit more work than just a quick response. Yeah, and then I think under 24 hours is probably the standard service level agreement. Under 2 hours, you're doing well. Under 15 minutes, lightning. But I think you definitely need to be looking at AI in order to answer somebody's questions there. And in order to do that, you need to have access for your AI to retrieve up-to-date information about your company, and live databases, live product information, that kind of stuff. I'd be happy to talk more about that kind of thing. Just back to the key takeaways. How do we equip or enable a single internal champion? We give them shareable justification-ready assets that they can send up the chain. We need to remove friction from self-serve research, so SEO plus great product pages plus FAQs. Segmenting messaging by budget reality. How do we reduce the risk and prove ROI? Versus how do we prove that we're going to increase performance and throughput? Design content for comparison, including AI, that is, so structured, ungated essentials and comparison pages. I think they're becoming more and more important. And how do we demonstrate? Don't just describe, use demos and in-use video to reduce perceived risk. Which brings us to the end of my slides. I'd encourage you, we'll be sharing this presentation. Encourage you to check out the links for Find Your Audience. There are a couple of links for AZoNetwork about who we are and what we do and who we reach. But yeah, Adam, I think if we had many questions come in, I think those poll results were pretty interesting. But what do you think about the the poll questions?
Well, on my end, I'll tell you that 15 minutes it's a difficult thing to get to, as
Yeah.
you noted, especially without the use of AI. But AI, even just from a filtering perspective, has been so successful. We've seen it across any numbers of sectors and segments within the industry. Simply putting something into a different folder or notifying someone in a different priority order can be just a really fantastic time saver, and I think a great use of AI. So Frank, we did get a number of questions here. I'll remind the audience that the Q&A remains open if you want to hear anything more from Frank about what he has. One of the biggest things we got through the Q&A was questions about whether the video and slides will be available. You will get, at minimum, a YouTube link here on Friday in the SAMPS newsletter. You can always as well go to samps.org to see our past webinars, any content we have there, as well as some of the upcoming events that I mentioned before. So Frank, directly from the Q&A here, for decision makers involved, have you looked at a cut on the purchase size or deal size? The asker here suspects the volume of decision makers may increase with bigger deals.
Yes, that's something that we've looked at in previous years, and yeah, I think the higher the value of it, the more decision makers, the more people need to make that decision. That's definitely a correlation that we've seen. I think we do actually need to pull that out in the in the finalized PDF. Um, but yeah, so if you're dealing with something that's, a couple of $1 million worth of equipment, then one person doesn't get to make that decision. I think it's natural that there's a team of people that make that decision, and yeah, it's definitely a positive correlation there between deal size and number of number of decision makers.
Next one, Frank, were there any findings here that surprised you?
Oh, good question. I think more the I suppose that I think I quoted the fact that was it only 1% of traffic is referred from 1% of traffic is referred via LLMs. That's quite surprising. I would expect that to be more. Um, I think it will increase, although we know that Google and ChatGPT are playing the game of trying to keep people zero click and trying to answer their questions within their own ecosystem, and reducing the incentive for people to go elsewhere and find the information. But I suppose that depends on how good the generative information is that they're creating. And I know that's kind of the question. A year or so ago, we had the sort of the dilemma: do we allow these LLMs to crawl our content or not? We've chosen yes to do that, so that we can show up in those instances. We know some people haven't, or some big publishers haven't allowed people to crawl them. And also, it's I think, was it New York Times? There's huge lawsuits and litigation cases going out that um, you know they're basically complaining that all of their content's been used to train these LLMs. Um, but then I suppose they're removing the ability to get found. Do you think they're going to get paid or not? I don't know. I've probably veered somewhere off the question there, but that surprised me, is the percentage of referrals from AI.
Sense. So, Frank, you had mentioned early on the need to provide clarity early in the sales cycle as velocity increases. Can you define clarity and what you mean there?
I'd say, yeah, get as much content as possible. I suppose keeping executive summary content up at the top of the product profile, having more technical specs underneath, and then even concertinas. So the more niche that you go, the lower down you go. So the lower down the page you go, the more niche. But you're always providing content, so your product pages can be quite long. I'd use the Amazon principle here from Jeff Bezos. If you scroll down and at any Amazon page, you've got all the pictures, all of the sort of the summary information, the product description up at the top, and then you're looking at user reviews further down, and there's more technical specification data down. There's always more content going down, and then right at the bottom, you're getting other things that you might like. So I'd say the clarity is having a clear structure of data on the product page.
Probably a similar question. It seems that a lot of this comes down to user experience. Do you have any other tips for UX on the website?
Yep, so fast loading. Make sure that anything above the fold loads quickly, and as that's loading, people are consuming it. You can have some of the more bulky content items lower down below the fold. Yeah, absolutely about UX. And I'd just come back to the EEAT. I suppose it's SEO and GEO. They're one and the same. You're optimizing for humans for search, but you're optimizing. In optimizing for humans, you are also optimizing for the generative engines as well.
And the last one we got here, you had mentioned GEO and generative engine optimization. Um, it's been called a number of different things. Is there a reason why you use GEO and not AEO?
Um, is there a reason? I think it's probably one of the most popular ones that we've seen. I know if you speak to our SEO team, there's nothing new under the sun, and it kind of gets their goat a bit. You optimize, like I say, going back to those EEAT principles, it's the same principles SEO's not really changed much over the last 25 years. We've always tried to optimize or increase the user experience. And we're getting better at doing that for the user. That is now converging with the generative engines as well. So I suppose just, yeah, you can call it AEO, GEO, but the principles are the same, really. It's EEAT, so experience, expertise, authority, and trust. If you're serving those four principles, then SEO and GEO, it doesn't matter, really.
Right. Well, we're getting to the end here, Frank. I'm going to leave you with one last question, just on the sentiment here. What you saw in these results, do you feel optimistic, pessimistic about 26?
Good question. Oh, it's the political uncertainty that gets me, and I'm sure it gets everybody on the call. I'm sure everyone's going, "Yeah, tell me about it." Clients sitting on hands. We're just waiting for a bit of stability and a bit of certainty, and you know, one man can cause such ripples throughout the world. I was trying not to get political, trying to keep it apolitical, but um, yeah, I think in 3 years we'll be fine. If you can wait out sort of midterm, we'll be all right. But it's all boats rise and fall together. I suppose you've got to carve your own advantage. How do you do more with less? How do you use AI in processes, which means that you don't need 10 people to do a job. You can do it with one. You can there are other ways that you can find a competitive advantage, even when all boats are rising and falling together. So for us personally, I'm quite buoyant and optimistic. But there are challenges, and there's challenges for everyone. I suppose you've got to get innovative and dive into AI and figure out how you're going to make AI work for you and trim up your bottom line.
I think that's a great way to put it and a great way to wrap up. Frank, thank you so much. As I noted to the viewers, you'll get this video here on Friday, and please do check out SAMPS.org. We have a number of events coming up here in Q1 and across the year with our European Annual Conference, our North American Annual Conference, and more. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. Frank, once more, thank you, and we will be back next month.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks, Adam. Cheers.